You're listening to KFWB News Talk 980. My name is Les Brown. I'm Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy, and we've been talking about dealing with the uncertainties of life and just looking at the tragedy that's taking place as we speak in Japan. That what we know is that life can catch all of us on the blind side and just turn your lives upside down. We're just talking about the fact that last week people in Japan got up, went to work, went to school, they took their cars or took the subway, they went to dinner or to the movies, and then they went to sleep and waited for another day. But many people in Japan, all of that changed the next day. The destruction from last week's quake and tsunami has taken the certainty out of their lives. Near the disaster zone, nearly 500,000 people are in shelters and evacuation centers with shortages of food and water. The unpredictability of life. Life is just so uncertain, and it happens in all kinds of ways, and happen to people in various types of situations. And how do you deal with that? What do you do? And we've had some calls, and one of the most courageous calls we got today was a call from a young lady Anna, whose husband molested her kids. And many times we hear of mothers looking the other way. Not only did she ask him to leave once she discovered this, but she also went through taking on the initiative to prosecute him to the full extent of the law. And unfortunately, the system did not honor her request. Unfortunately, even though he pleaded guilty, he did not get any time, and nor did they require that he be registered as a sex offender, as a pedophile, and so he's out there probably molesting somebody else. As we begin to look at dealing with the tragedies of life, courage is very important. She said she prayed a lot. Prayer is very important. But she also activated that prayer by having faith and the determination and drive to do everything she could to put him behind bars. And even though she failed, we must just acknowledge her faith and her courage and the action she took to stand up for her kids and other children so that they perhaps would not be harmed by someone of this nature. Regina went through an experience, lost her job. Grandmother died, and her mother had a stroke. Her mother's recovering, and Regina has found herself homeless. Regina, who's been applying for jobs and trying to put her life back together, among the 14 million Americans that are looking for employment. And we want to thank some of you that have called in and say, look, I would like to do what I possibly can to help her. One of the things I think that when tragedy strikes, one of the things I believe is, number one, ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. And ask for help, and don't stop until you get it. The other thing that is very important when you're going through some stuff, and we all will go through stuff. Viktor Frankl calls it, life is full of unavoidable suffering. Somebody said that in life you'll be either in a problem or just left one or headed toward one. And one of the most important things that you have to do that I have found, and you know, Mother Teresa said, Lord, I know you know how much I can bear. I just wish you didn't have so much confidence in me. My new prayer to God is, Lord, can you call somebody else and take them some problems? I got enough. My cup runneth over. You ever want to give God some other names? Say, look here, I got a full plate right now. You have dealt me enough stuff already. Can you just spread it out a little bit? I tell you. But what I realized in my own life, that the most important thing that you have to do when tragedy strikes is that you got to get still. Before you do anything, sometimes the best thing to do is to be still, to go within and to center yourself and to get grounded and to say, this too shall pass. In the midst of the pain, even when it's raw, even as your body is aching, as I'm speaking to you right now, I call my pain June bug. My mother used to say, oh, Arthur's bothering me. And I said, Mama, who's Arthur? Don't worry, boy, you live long enough, you'll find out. And Arthur was arthritis. That's what my mother referred to it whenever she had any discomfort or pain. when it become cloudy, she would say, Arthur's bothering me. We knew when it was going to rain. And so I woke up this morning and Junebug said, oh, you overslept. You forgot to take your pain pill. We're going to have a good time with you today, Mr. Brown. See, will your positive mental attitude help you out now? It's called life. And the key to it is knowing, even in the midst of it, greater is he that is in you than he that's in the world. In the midst of it, don't take it personally. Life is not just singled you out. It's just the way that it is. And one of the callers said, Sandra, you got to suck it up. You got to suck it up. You got to snap out of it, and you got to move forward. You got to make something happen. And don't try and figure out what you're going to do next. The most important thing is make up your mind. I'm going to get out of this situation. Make up your mind. I was talking to a friend of mine who was in a nursing home, and she said she was there bedridden, and she looked across from her, and a lady was having seizures, and she said, at least I'm not having seizures. At least I've got my mind together. And even though she couldn't stand up at the time, she couldn't sit up at the time, she said every day she pushed herself to sit up just for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Then she's able to sit up for 10 minutes without getting dizzy, and then 15 minutes, and then she's able to ask the staff to help her to stand up. They say, well, you can only stand up for about 5 minutes, and then you're going to fall. She said, that's okay, let me do that 5. And gradually, she began to get out of that bed. Gradually, she was able to go from laying in bed and feeling powerless, gradually to sit on the side of the bed, to stand up and to walk with a walker. And she said, I'm giving myself 4 to 5 years. Pretty soon, I'm going to be able to walk. I'm giving myself time. And I think all of us must know something that Robert Schuller said, by the yard is hard, but inch by inch, anything is a cinch. And that what we got to do is do what we can, as George Washington Carver would say, do what we can where we are with what we have and never be satisfied. Understanding and knowing this has not come to stay, it has come to pass. Begin to know that you have the power within you to overcome that. She said, as I was laying in bed, I'm getting out of here. This is not going to get the best of me. Life must move on. A friend of mine who lost 8 members of her family at the same time, I said, how did you not lose your mind? She said, for a moment, I did. And she said, all I could do was breathe. All I could do was listen to my breath, that I was still here. All I can do is say, Lord, please don't let me lose my mind. And I just... She said, all I did was focus on breathing to take me through that experience. I couldn't speak. I couldn't think. I couldn't fathom what had happened to me. It seemed like the end of the world. My mind was blank, and I just focused on my breathing to take me through it. That's what I do when I'm hurting and the pain medicine doesn't work. That's what I do when life hits me sometime on the blind side. All I can do is breathe and just thank God you're still here. And this too shall pass. This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's Baby Boy. Join us tomorrow from 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock. In the meantime, keep in mind, always strive to get on top in life, because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. You've been listening to KFWB News Talk 980.